True crime genre. Um, it's a really controversial subject, isn't it? Um, people like myself, predominantly who've mixed, mostly involved in that subject, um, will always cause outrage, um, not mayhem, but it's a subject that you know. I think when I spoke to a lot of other true crime authors, that you've always got to we have to feel like we have to explain why we're doing it. I'm probably I keep meaning to come away from it, and obviously I've got boxers and actors and footballers to do, but I always say I'm running away from it because it's the one that probably causes me the most amount of stress, and for some reason it's like that saying in is it The Godfather or something? Every time I tried to get out, I kept trying to get dragged back. And cards on the table. The reality is, it's the biggest selling um, genre in the bookshops. Anyone who says it isn't, it's not. Trust me, I've asked, I've researched. Um, yeah, it's people. There's other authors out there. 20 years ago, I suppose the scene, if you like, the genre, the business was at its all-time high. You had Kate Cray, Bernard O'Mahony, and it was, John Blake's were just shot in ridiculous money. About the 10 millennium, uh, it's like the big books, where now it's different because obviously it's the 21st century and, um, you know, the a lot of people prefer Kindles. So as an author or publishing company, you've got to move with the times, and sometimes when the people are selling books on there for 99 pence, um, you kind of your hands are tied. So um, but it's the most interesting, for I think what's really bizarre is the human mind is truly fascinated with criminals and why they do it and their philosophy and trying to understand the psychological aspects of what made people do it. Even back to 133 years ago when Annie Chapman was killed. Second of the Jack the Ripper victims. And when she was killed, the people who lived next door were charging a penny for the neighbours to go up and have a look down, to have a look at the murder. And we were paying that. It's just the human mind. It's kind of, we, even though a lot of us won't admit it, we're greatly fascinated. And what I find strange is, obviously, I've done a lot of books in the last couple of years. And, your Lee Duffys, even the ones who are alive, like your Dominic Negus, your Paul Sykes, was a bad guy. What else? Roy Shaw, Paddy Maloney, a few others I probably wouldn't want to really mention, but people are like, society kind of morally accepts these people, where society kind of frowns upon these because Paul Sykes was only 14 years ago, Lee Duffy was 30 years ago, Roy Shaw was 9 years ago. When in actual fact, if you look at some of the Cray, the Cray movies in the last couple of years, they were, far greater, far worse than any of the characters I've written about, because they were murderers. And, just because the Kemps played the Crays 30 odd years ago, Tom Hardy played the twins in a film 6 years ago, it's kind of socially accepted because it's cool and it's interesting. Um, where the certain your Lee Duffy ones, people have been uproar, even though them books have made thousands of pounds for great causes, for registered charities, now for little Frankie Lee Booth, who's grown up without a dad. Paul Sykes' book, there was a great backlash when I did them, and one of the books, and still to this day, supports the Bradley Lowry Foundation. It was a little angel, sadly passed with cancer about 4 years ago. And listen, people have said, well, hang on a minute, how can you attach a monster like that to a beautiful little angel? But it's not what it's about at the end of the day. Most of my books raise, and not just mine, some other authors as well. But predominantly because the craze were 50 odd years ago and they were seen as cool and glamorous, they had a good dress sense, or because Jack the Ripper was 133 years ago and we didn't know the women in the past life, then it's okay to write about Jack the Ripper and the craze and who else? You know, um, yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at how many books were written on the Essex Boys. Um, I've lost count. Also, films. I've lost count. Sorry, there's a wasp on my hand now. I was worried I was going to get stung. Um, yeah, at the end of the day, what you've got to take away from it is, um, the reality is, these are parts of social history. Um, Sykes was massive in Wakefield. So was Duffy. I mean, Wakefield was a place like Coventry or Milton Keynes to me. Um, I knew it existed, but I didn't have any interest in it. And now it's one of my most favourite places on earth. And Middlesbrough's the same. Obviously, I grew up there for most of my life, but I know I've had messages from people from Kent, from Manchester. One messaged me the other day from Peterborough saying he was coming up. A friend of mine, Connor, comes over from Ireland, just purely because he's interested in Teesside, Middlesbrough, Borough, whatever you want to call it. And it is that's my point. It's the social history. One of my favourite holidays in the world is to walk around Whitechapel, Bethnal Green, and it's because of the history. It's not. Yes, the craze, there were gangsters, there were murderers, and Jack the Ripper. It's when I'm walking down Whitechapel High Street, I often look up and think, imagine the history behind this street, and Oscar Wilde was here, and John Merrick was here, and fascinating. It really, really is, isn't it? I think a lot of people get blinded and think, oh well, why are you doing a book on Lee Duffy or Paul Sykes? He was a monster, he was a bully, he was all this kind of stigma, all these names, which is attached to a lot of them. There's not even any facts, but but it's seen to be cool because the craze, and we'll go and do the craze tour. We'll go on the Blind Beggar. I was in the Blind Beggar the other week, and every single day. I mean, I was there for probably 5 or 6 days. I'd done some filming in there, and every single day, mostly every hour, there was someone coming in just to look where the bullet hole is in the wall. The pub have actually put a frame around it now, so you can still see the same wallpaper that was actually happened that night. And that was what, 1960, 66, was it 67? 66, March 66. So what we're on now, 55 years later, people are still fascinated, absorbed in it all, and think, well, what happened, and like to be there, like to feel the aura about it. And but then they're not the same with people who are quite recent, and obviously that's down to because there's victims. I've met many victims of Paul Sykes. I've been in company with a man whose teeth are completely missing. from Lee Duffy. I've interviewed people who've had a fight with like, but it's too recent, and I think a lot of people get offended by it, and it's seen not as acceptable. But maybe in 100 years from now, when people, might talk about Lee Duffy or Paul Sykes, or it'll be okay then. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of what you're facing as a writer. There's been books offered to me over the years, and I thought I'd love to do that. One being a northeast one, really really big northeast one. If there's Lee Duffy is the other one is the other name. I'm not going to go into it, and I would have loved to have done that, but there were certain people that said to me, "Stay away from that." It's just too that something like that is probably likely to get you killed, because people have such high mixed emotions even now. So if there's any aspiring writers out there, um, probably write about people 50 odd years ago, and then you'll be safe. Even though the human mind, even though you'd probably be safe, your books wouldn't sell as much, because people, I've done much. Thompson was my 20th, and I've got 21 and 22 upstairs yet to be released. So at the end of this book, I'll have 22 books out, and I've had some books that I've had to learn from, and they didn't do what I thought was, and I've had books that have had the wow factor, and that's your Paul Sykes, your Lee Duffy's, and that's just because basically when that book comes out, the PR, obviously I've excited it up a bit, but Waterstones will have had hundreds of people coming in saying I need to buy this book on Lee Duffy or Paul Sykes, or and that's the wow factor. That's what I call people are just like wow, and and just people literally take days off work for them books. I'm going into footballers and boxers, but do I think they will probably have the wow factor? I don't think so. Um, you know, yeah, it's not to glamorize anything. I defy anyone to show me any of my books that I've glamorized, but I cover over the facts, and when you think of the Lee Duffy books, that had court documents in, it had factual opinions from the police. I spoke to many people I could never name. But when I have spoken to Lee's friends, certain people have said, you know what, you got that bang on. Even Paul Bryan, who done 10 months on remand for conspiracy to kill Lee, he's read both my books. He's doing life now, and he said you absolutely got that bang on. So that means more to me than Joe11 blogs telling me from Birmingham that I'm full of shit or something like that. That to me is what I aim for when I do a book. But yeah, regarding psychology, we're thinking, or the true crime genre, the psychological aspect of things, you're always going to be frowned upon. You've only got to look at Bernard O'Mahony's book a couple of years back on Paul Massey. Now, Paul Massey was shot dead about 6 years back. Then there was an outcry, but there was a lot of people really wanting to buy that book. I don't know how well it's gone, but I've seen the social media pages, and he was a figure of interest, just in a different area, social history. But obviously that was part of Manchester. Your Londons, you've got the Adams and all that, and if they'd done a book tomorrow, people would go crackers for it. But you'd also have the people frowned upon. I think, what you're doing that for? You can give to so many charities, but there'll always be someone who'll say, and one thing I found, and I think this really pinpoints the point of what I'm trying to say, is when I'm in the papers for doing. I've been in the middle of paper now 14 times over the last 4 years, and you've only got, I never read the comments, But I did do when I was when I was greener, or when I was a bit more egotistical, I suppose. And you think, oh yeah, it's great, and then someone will, but there's a lot of people will hate you out there who don't know you. And Sean Atwood has done a few books on Pablo Escobar, and he said one of his favourite sayings was, "Envy will always kill more men than cancer," or something like that. And it is, that's right. Envy, people will see that success is not just about how much money you've got. It's about if your face is all over the papers or social media, you've got to have a product in the first place to sell. There's okay writing a book, um, making a documentary, or writing a song or whatever, but you have to get people to be really, really interested, and you've got to captivate the, you've got to. That's a skill in itself, and if you can do that, um, then you deserve the best. But obviously, in my case, I've took books on the last couple of years that probably no one would have done it. Sometimes I wish I never. John Pierce said to me, a boxer friend of mine who's a hero of mine when I was growing up boxing. He said, Jamie, there was only one person that was ever going to do that lead off your book, and it was you. And I don't know, it was because you're really not right in the head, or you just don't give a fuck. I think it's a bit of both, but to get some of the shit I have done, my family blatant lies said up there, you do. I wonder sometimes. I think, do you know what? It was easier when I was a labourer 5 years ago, or when I had my SIA badge, or do you know what I mean? Life was easier. But what you've got to remember is anything in life worth having doesn't come easy. Whether you're a swimmer, I don't know, writer, artist, YouTube, uh, running a TikTok channel, there'll always be someone that'll hate you, even if they don't know you or just have something to say. I read some of the comments sometimes, and there's a woman on Facebook called, what do you call it? She's got a Facebook page called Knees Deep in Life, and what she does, she puts pictures of these glamorous models, like the Kate Moss and all them, and Shorty Clifford, these tall, gorgeous people, and she'll put a picture of herself on. So these models are beautiful, and she's kind of got her rolls out and all that. And this woman has absolutely millions of followers. But I was mortified the other day. I was reading some of the comments, and I was thinking, why would humans want to do that? You don't even know them. Um, it defies belief. But that's what that's what I suppose is in us. Particularly when people get jealous, then that kind of horrible jealous nature comes in. And some of them comments might not have even been from bad people, but it's that just one moment of rage, and I get it. I don't even look now, but it did used to affect me years ago. But obviously I've dealt with it a bit better with the cannabis oil and all that. But yeah, that's just going back to my point regarding human nature. I just, you can write a book, you can write books forever about people 100 years ago, even 56 years ago, and it's great and it's fine, and and if he's still alive, yeah, and he's a nice old bloke, and he's my granddad. When actual fact, you think about it, hang on a minute, he was the most dangerous man in London 50 years ago. But people will not think like that. So they'll get upset about, you know, someone doing books about people recent. And but that's just, I don't know, I don't think anything can change that other than time. But yeah, so I was just gardening, and I thought, that thought come into my head, so I'm gonna have a chat anyway. But I'm gonna try and do more of these videos now. Um, the lads run it in. Pontefract. Um, but I just send them the videos and they put them on, and apparently we get good feedback. So thank you so much. But anyone, it's not me on the comments. So if anyone does want to get in touch, if you give me a message on Twitter at Jamie Boyle 10, I'll get back to you. Okay, thanks for your time, guys. God bless.